Hello everyone. We are going to study about loop control statements. We are students from Sri Vishnu Engineering College for Women. We have done this video under the guidance of Dr. M. Prasad sir.
Hello everyone, I'm Navya from CSE department and my registration number 537. And now we are going to look at what are loops. A loop is a control structure that can execute a statement or a group of statements repeatedly. Python has three types of loops: while loop, for loop and nested loop. And now, what is a while loop? A while loop will repeatedly execute a code of blocks as long as the condition evaluates true. So if the condition becomes true, it enters the loop and execute the state block of statements. If the condition becomes false, it exits from the loop. And the iteration, for each and every iteration, it checks the condition. And now we're going to see the syntax. And the flowchart is as follows. First, we enter the loop, and for while loop, we check the condition. If condition becomes true, then we enter to the block of statements and execute it. And after, we again check the loop condition, and then if it is false, we exit from the while loop. And for every iteration, it checks the condition. And the next loop is for loop. The for loop as a count control loop, it iterates a specific number of times. A for loop can be used to iterate over and perform an action one time for each element in a list. And the syntax for the for loop is as follows. And the flowchart, we will see the flowchart. If a variable or a constant is in the respective range, then it enters the loop. If not, it comes out of the loop. And the next is nested loops. Python programming language allows to use one loop inside another loop. A nested loop is a loop inside the body of the outer loop. The inner or outer loop can be any type, such as while loop or for loop. The outer loop can contain more than one inner loop, and there is no limitation on the chaining of loops. And this is the syntax, and the flowchart is as follows.
Hello everyone, myself Shruti Gogineni from CSE department. My registration number is 549. Today we are going to learn about loop control statements. What are loop control statements? A loop control statements that can be used to alter or control the flow of loop execution based on specific conditions. Python supports three control statements. They are break, continue, pass. These conditions are mainly used in automate repetitive tasks, iterate over data, and control the flow of a program. Let us know about break statement. A break statement in Python is used to bring the control out of the loop when some external condition is triggered. If the break statement is used inside a nested loop, it will terminate the innermost loop. Now look at the example. Initially, take two variables num and I. Initialize num with 0 and I must be in the range of 0 to 10. Now increment num with 1. Num is equal to 1. It doesn't enter the if loop but prints the value 1. This process continues till 5, but when num is equal to 6, it enters the if loop. Break condition is applied, so the execute controller comes out of the innermost loop, that is if loop. So out of the loop is printed because it is in the outermost loop. Now look at continue statement. The continue statement gives to skip over the current iteration of any loop. When a continue statement is encountered in the loop, the Python interpreter ignores rest of statements in the loop body for the current iteration and returns the program execution to the very first statement in the loop body. Now look at the example. Take a list named fruits which consists of apple, banana, orange, grape, kiwi. Take a variable fruit. When the fruit is in fruits, the Python interpreter enters the for loop, prints apple, banana. But when fruit is equal to orange, it enters the if loop where continue is applied. As continue is applied, it comes out of the present iteration. So orange is not printed but continues the next iteration where grape and kiwi are printed.
Coming to the pass statement, in Python, the pass statement is a placeholder statement that does nothing. It is often used as a syntactical placeholder. The past statement acts as a null operator. If you have an if statement or a while loop that requires a body but you don't want to execute any code yet, you can use the past statement as a placeholder. For example, let us take a variable called x. If x is in the list 0, 1, 2, we have to enter the for loop. It has past statement. Having an empty for loop like this would raise an error without the past statement. Now we don't get an error, the output will be nothing. Now coming to the conclusion, let us revise what we have learned about break, continue and pass. Now let us see about the break statement. The break statement is used to terminate a loop. When the break statement is encountered within a loop, the loop is immediately exited and the program execution continues with the next statement after the loop. When the break condition is met, the break statement is executed and the loop is terminated. Coming to the continue, in Python, the continue statement is used to skip the remaining code within the current iteration of a loop and proceed to the next iteration. When continue statement is encountered, the loop does not execute any statements below it for the current iteration but continues with the next iteration. It is useful when you want to skip specific iterations. Now coming to the pass statement, in Python, the pass statement is a null operation statement. It is used as a placeholder when a statement is syntactically required. The pass statement is often used in situations where you need to define a block of code but haven't implemented the logic yet. It allows you to create an empty code blocks that can be filled in later without causing any errors. Let us look at even more examples so that we can understand better. For example, we have to make a list of odd numbers between 1 and 20. We take a variable called num which is equals to 1 and a list called odd numbers. While it is num, if num is not divisible by 2, we append the number to the list. If it is greater than 20, we use break, otherwise we increment the num by 1 and print the list. The output will be the list of odd numbers between 1 and 20. When num is equals to 20, it enters the if loop. Since we have written the condition num greater than or equals to 20, we enter into the loop and there is a break statement, so we come out of the loop and we do not increment the num and print the set of odd numbers. Coming to the example with continue, we take a variable called I. In the string I am a coder. If I equals to space, we enter into the loop and it has continue statement, so we continue to the next step iteration. It prints the letter called I. Then we have an output of I am a coder with each letter in each line. By using continue statement, the space cannot be printed. We only print the letters called I am a coder. Let us see another example with continue statement. We take a variable called num. It is in the range 3 to 8. If num equals to 5, we enter into the if loop. It has continue statement, or else we print the num. So the output will be 3, 4 and 6, 7. Since we use the continue statement, when the num is equals to 5, it stops the iteration there. It continues its next iteration with the next number, which is 6, and prints the value up to 7. Let us take an example in pass statement. If we take a variable called num which is equals to 1, while num is less than 10, if num is equals to 6, we use pass statement. Then print the num value and increment the num value. Here in the output we will be having 1 to 10 digits. Here the pass statement didn't do anything. It just took some time for the processor to complete the process. Let us take another example with pass statement. Here we have a variable called val in the string called please. If val equals to a, we enter into the if loop. It has pass statement with pass block and we print the value. So the output will be ple pass block ase. Here when the val equals to a, we enter into the if block. The execution will not be affected and it will just print the pass block once it encounters the a string, and the execution will start at a and execute the rest of the remaining iterations. This is all about loop control statement. Hope you like this video. Thank you.